Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to Shelf Life. I'm Kimberlie Dykeman. Now, every time we bring you an episode, we are bringing you the most amazing books that are hitting shelves today. And you get a chance to meet the authors behind these books. You hear of the real purpose and perspective as to why you need to run out and absorb them. Now, my guest today is a successful businessman, innovator, dedicated family man, and he's the activist and author behind not just a book, but a social movement called GOOOH, Get Out of Our House. Please give a warm welcome to Tim Cox. Tim, get out of our house. Explain that so the average Joe can get their arms around this and embrace this concept of ousting 435 people out of Congress.
I think the politicians are destroying our country, right? They've amassed a $12 trillion deficit. Our borders leak like a sieve. I think everybody in America sees and understands that government is broken, and we need to do something. And so GOOOH, Get Out of Our House is a plan to replace the people up in Washington that are supposed to be leading our country, but they're not. They no longer represent the people. They represent the special interest groups that fund them. They represent their political party. They represent their own political career long before they represent you or I.
You've got to explain that this isn't just a random idea. This is a whole platform and a strategy. What's the simplest play-by-play?
Yeah, well, so I've got to start with I'm a computer guy, and all I've done my entire life is build systems and processes to change the way things happen and to get different results. So I started with understanding what are the core problems today, and I said there's really four. There's the money in politics, there's the parties telling people how to vote, there's politicians too worried about their own career, and the lack of accountability. And so I set out with how do you create a process that addresses those four issues, and I came up with the GOOOH system, and it would work like this. We want every person in America to go to this website, thegooooh.com, and document how they personally would vote. So we have a questionnaire, 100 questions, are you for or against each and every issue of the day? There's no right or wrong answer. Just put in writing how you would vote if you were in Washington, and then sign a legally binding agreement that says if we send you up there, you'll vote the way you said you would. Once we get to critical mass and membership, we've defined that as 500,000 members, we'll randomly sort the participants into pools of 10 within their district, and then one morning next spring, you'll have 50,000 pools of 10 all sitting down at the exact same time, and each pool of 10 among themselves will choose the two best people. And they'll look at the answers to the questionnaire, they'll consider communication skills, personality, accomplishments in life, whatever they want to consider, each pool of 10 will identify the two best. Those two will advance, and the next weekend you'd have new but fewer pools, and that process would repeat 4 or 5 weekends until ultimately one person rises to the top in each of the 435 districts. And those become the GOOOH candidates that we'll place on the ballot to compete with the career politicians. We've ran well over 2,000 tests of this process now, and in even the first pool of 10, and we do mock sessions with 6, the 2 people that are chosen are superb. And if you go through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds, the quality of the person that rises to the top will be wonderful. Sam Adams said, if ever a time should come when vain and aspiring men shall possess the highest seats in our government, our country will stand in need of our experienced patriots to prevent its ruin. And I think that's where we are. We are the experienced patriots. It is our duty to go find these folks and to put these folks in office, or we will not prevent the ruin of what has been the greatest nation the world has ever known.
How did this come to be, and why do you feel that the time is right now?
Well, first I thought it had to happen by 2008. I think every 2 years that we go, it's going to be harder and harder. And I think what we're seeing going on right now with the bailouts and the takeover of banks and car companies and TARP, I just complained too loud one day. And my son, he just kind of flippantly said, hey, Dad, you're supposed to be a smart guy. You always tell us not to complain about stuff. Why don't you go fix it? I took that to heart. I'm not a political guy. I'm a computer guy. I've got a computer science degree from the University of Texas. I worked on the KH-11 spy satellite. I was one of the guys that helped build the first credit card reader at the gas pump. I had the very good fortune to work over at Dell Computer for a dozen years, where we did really a lot of revolutionary kind of systems that changed the way computers were built and bought and purchased and such. So all my life, all my career, I've been in the right place at the right time, building systems to change the way we do things. And I think this sequence of life events kind of led me to this point where I just kind of understood that this was my purpose in life. This is what I was supposed to do, was to go build this system. And now the search for those modern day incarnations of Madison, Franklin, and Jefferson has begun.
So who is jumping on board right now, and how do you see it branching out?
This is a true grassroots revolution, right? I walked away from my job, abandoned everything I have to go build the system, and I'm traveling the country, city to city, and what we're finding is there are groups of patriots all across America, but these folks are very interested and see that we need to do things differently. And we've had almost 400,000 people to the website already, so it's a small but rapidly growing base, and we believe as we grow, we will get the national attention that's needed. A recent Rasmussen poll said that 57% of Americans would vote out every single member of Congress, House and Senate, if given an opportunity. So the data is there. If we can identify these candidates, put them on the ballot, the people of America will overwhelmingly vote for these folks, I'm convinced.
Right. It almost seems like you fell upon being an author because you had to get the game plan and the strategy out to people so they could get their arms around it. So instead of maybe what's next in your shelf life, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? So
I'm absolutely convinced 100 years from now, the history books will tell the story of the GOOH Revolution. And my hope is that people that are hearing this interview, kind of right here and right now, will hear the exact same calling that I've heard. And whether it's, your God or your country or just the legacy that you're meant to leave behind, there are people being called to step forward to help do the work that we know needs to be done. As for me, I don't know. But I think what's more important is that the 435 men and women that we find that go up there, they'll take over and they'll move this country in the direction that it needs to go.
So folks have questions, comments, concerns. What do they need to do?
It's very simple. Go to the website, thegooh.com.
GOOH.
Yeah, get 3 O's. If you put two, if you put two, you end up in Saudi Arabia or somewhere. And go to the website, become a member. It takes an email address. We're very quick to point out we don't want or need money. My wife and I are funding this until we get to 500,000 people. At that point in time, we'll ask everybody in America that's ready to participate to put $100 in. We'll pool that money, and we'll begin marketing GOOH with one very simple campaign. It goes something like this. America, you can continue to vote for career politicians, red or blue, like you've always done, and the results will be exactly what we're getting and the same. Or, for the first time ever, you can vote for this GOOH candidate who's documented their view on every key issue of the day, has been chosen by their peers, has not accepted a penny from special interest groups, is affiliated with no party, and is willing to go to Washington and serve you for 2 years. Who do you want to vote for? And if you go back to the polls, they're overwhelmingly, the people of America will vote for these candidates. They will win in a landslide.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Again, it's GOOH.com. Again, it's Tim Cox. The book is Get Out of Our House, a Revolution. And you've been watching Shelf Life. I'm Kimberlie Dykeman. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you real soon.